You need a credit facility. Every major lender in the space will be there. They have a workshop. They're also around. Maybe you want to target that. You need some accounting advice. Maybe you want to target that. You need a new PMS system. It's all there for you. You want to explore AI. You're a little behind on the AI curve and you're like, I heard this AI thing's exploded, but I really don't have it too much. This is the time. Every possible AI solution that's value in. When it comes to AI, Mike, they're coming out of the woodwork.
Welcome back to the Dental Economist Show with me, Mike Huffaker. Before we jump into today's conversation, a quick reminder, as always, if you are enjoying the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, or leave a review. Your support really helps us continue to bring valuable insights to dental professionals everywhere. So my guest today really needs no introduction, but I feel compelled to do one regardless. So look, if you're in dental and the DSO space, and you don't know who Brian Colao is, you must be living under a rock. Brian is the director of Dykema's DSO Industry Group, which he founded, and he's now spent over 30 years shaping the legal and business landscape for DSOs across the United States. Brian's a recognized authority on DSO regulations, M&A, and corporate law. He's played a pivotal role in setting industry standards and helping DSOs navigate complex legal frameworks. He and his team also happen to throw the best conference in dental, the Dykema Definitive Conference for DSOs, coming up the first week in August, which when this airs will likely be next week. And he's been a winner of the Planet DDS Thought Leadership Award and is a recent inductee to the ADSO Hall of Leaders. Welcome back to the show, Brian. How are you doing?
Well, look, I'm really, really glad to be here. I think it's been too long. For a while I was on the show and I would see all the promotional stuff and my picture would be up there as a guest, but then my picture disappeared from that stuff. So, that told me, I guess it's been too long. I was out of your mind or something. So maybe now, when you promote the show, my picture will go back up there as like a recent guest or something. I don't know.
I think there's a good shot, but look, I have to tell you, you're actually only the second. I know you like to be first with things, so maybe you're not going to like this step, but you're only the second person that has appeared more than one time on the show. And now the first person that appeared more than once, she was the first guest I ever had. And I had to have her back on because I was so terrible at episode 1 that it just really wasn't fair to her that she had to be the original guinea pig for joining the Dental Economist Show. So, you're in rare company as usual.
It never gets old, Mike, spending time with you and being on your show. And if you're actually good at it now, as opposed to the first time, well, that'll be an added bonus. We'll have to see though, as we go here.
It's still debatable, but we'll figure it out. We'll see how it goes. So look, hey, big event coming up. I know you've kind of been eating, sleeping, breathing this yourself, your team over the past months, and really, from the conversations you and I have had, I've come to appreciate it's a year-round effort to put on something of this size, scale, and magnitude. You told me you guys have set new attendance record, which is going to be super exciting, which I would imagine means quite a few people that are listening today, it might be their first Dykema. If it is someone's first time going to the event, what's your advice? How do you get the most out of this show?
Yeah, this is what I would say. And yeah, we are going to we're really just competing with ourselves at this point, and we're going to break our own attendance record from last year. I think we may have 2,400 people there. It's looking very likely that that's going to be the case. We're well over 2,000 at the time. At the time we're recording, we're say 2 weeks away. We're well over 2,000 now. And I think bearing down on 2,100. I feel like 2,400 may be the number. This is, if you've not been before, and I love looking at LinkedIn, all these people saying, I'm a first time. It's becoming like a thing. Like, I'm a first timer, and people are saying, welcome to the show. And I can't respond to all of them because there's so many, but I try when I see one to jump in and say, welcome to the show. Glad you're going to come, that kind of stuff. This is what I will say. It's unlike typical shows. A typical show you might go to, and, there might be a reception somewhere or an opening dinner or something, or, some sort of like a band is playing and you're like, look, I'm tired. I'm not going to do that. Look, I went to, I was in the the exhibitor hall. And by the way, we don't got an exhibitor hall. All of the exhibitors and sponsors are right on the Grand Promenade, right next to the ballroom. But for another show, they might be like, we're at the exhibitor hall. I had a long day. I don't feel like going to that one, or I'm not going to go to this one. It goes quickly. Pretty much all day Wednesday, all day the evening Wednesday, all day Thursday, half a day Friday. It'll be over with like this. Don't miss a second of networking. You've got more people at this event than any other event in the history of the DSO industry. And there's just so many people here that you can't appreciate. And I've had people tell me over and over again, like, I don't even like to get up early. I wasn't going to do it, but they said I got to go to the breakfast. I never eat breakfast, but I showed up and oh my God, this person was there. I was trying to get a hold of that person. This other person was there. And to be honest, I didn't eat breakfast, but I walked into the breakfast room and they were all there. And all of a sudden I had these meetings that I didn't anticipate. I mean, this is not me just making stuff up. I hear this all day long. So I would say, like, I'll give examples. You kind of get in late. You're not a first evening reception person. No, go to the first evening reception. It's like it starts at 4 o'clock with the Woman in DSO event. Everybody should be there from 4 to 6. After that is the opening reception from 6 to 7. Then there's the dinner and reception from 7 to 10. You pretty much should be there. I could understand if somebody told me, "Come on, Brian, that's 6 hours." No, you really. I mean, if you want to leave at 9:45, I'll cut you a break, but you need to be there pretty much from like 4 till 9-ish, 10-ish. Till the thing's over with. And a lot of people will walk down at the fire pits and they met somebody at the dinner and now they're off at the fire pit talking till 11 or 12 about business. I mean, there are people that are buddies and friends and they'll just be hanging out, but a lot of business gets conducted. Example number 2, breakfast. Oh my God, I don't want to be down there at 7. For most conferences, that's right. You'll go down there. Maybe there's not many people. It's probably not a good use of your time. This thing, you should go to the breakfast. Go to the breakfast. You're going to be really surprised at the early risers and people that are probably folks you want to talk to, or you didn't even know you wanted to talk to them. And then all of a sudden you found out, oh God, these guys own DSOs. They need our services. Wow. That happens a lot of times too. They didn't even know that there was somebody they wanted to talk to and they ran into them and they found out this is exactly the type of person they want to talk to. That lunch is certainly the big party, right? It's going to start at 7. We got 2 bands, drones, and then a club at 11 o'clock. If you don't want to hang till 1 or 2, and I'll tell you, there's going to be 500-600 people that will be, but it might get a little crazy, I have to say. I don't know how much business is going to be conducted at 1 a.m. If you told me, look, I threw in the towel, I didn't want to dance, I just went to sleep. Yeah, I'll cut you a break on that. But pretty much from, 7 o'clock to at least 11 or 12, you need to be engaged, kind of doing that sort of networking. Same thing Friday morning, same thing. Get up there and do it because there's just so many people there. People that have only gone to other events where at best you got 300 people. And after you get some of the sponsors out of the way, there might be a universe of 160 or 170 people. And they're like, I can knock this out, an hour or 2. This is not like that. This is 2,400 people. You got to use every minute of the day that's available if you want to get the most out of it. I'm not going to tell somebody how to run their business, but if you want to get the most out of it, you got to use that time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been to multiple now. It's an amazing event. The LinkedIn kind of phenomenon that's taken off with the announcements of going to Dykema is really fun to watch. And I'll tell you, after I posted one myself, of course, last week, and I think I got 6 or 7 LinkedIn in-mail messages in relatively short order of like, hey, you're going to be there. We should connect. We should meet up. And so the networking piece, that you've talked about is really second to none. And it does go quick. Like it goes fast. You just mentioned starting with the Women in DSO event and then moving into the reception and the dinner, like that 5 hours. It's like that.
I mean, the actual event, and it's gotten so big. There's pre-event. There's so much stuff going on. And, obviously Planet DDS got their cabana party, which I knew, and now there's a wait list. And, I love it that you guys are doing this, but I knew that it was just so many people are there and excited. It was just not, maybe someday we can have an event and be like, anybody that wants to come down. But it's just not, it's too big. But my point is, because we have things like the Planet DDS party and the workshops and the Women in DSO AI workshop, which is going to be terrific on Tuesday. The reason all those events have sprung up is because the actual event, and I define the actual event as starting 4 p.m. at the Woman in DSO event. So it goes from like 4 to 10 p.m. all day Thursday till I guess 2 in the morning now. And then, Friday till about 1. That part just goes so quick. It's just a blur. It flies, and everybody maybe gets some nice sleep over the weekend, but those 3 days go so quickly. So so I think sometimes people don't appreciate that if it's their first event, just how quick it's going to be.
Yeah. So one thing I've learned about you over the past 6 to 9 months, as we've kind of gotten to know each other a little bit better, is you care a lot about providing value to the DSO representatives that are there, to the vendors that are there, to the industry experts that are there. What are some of the things that you do a little bit differently and that your team does a little bit differently that really are great examples of how you provide that value to everyone?
Yeah, I'm glad we got a second to talk about it because I feel just so passionately about that. I just do. I feel like the things that keep me up at night is I feel obligated to, the vendors that sponsor it and pay for it. And, a lot of people in the industry don't feel obligated in any way to the vendors. They think they're just a meal check and they could care less. I don't do that. I don't put people on different floors in different rooms, different buildings I've seen. I don't do that. I don't say there's a restriction on, the vendors can't come to this presentation, only no. If you come there, you can come to anything we're putting on. So, that's my pledge to the vendors because they pay for it. My also pledge to the vendors is I got to fill it with people. Okay. You wrote me a check. I don't take that check for granted that, you're just going to keep writing me that check for the next 10 years. I think that the reason you're writing me that check is I'm filling this with more DSO representatives than any other event in the history of the industry. And the reason next year you're going to write me the check is not because, you just out of the kindness of your heart or I'm entitled to it. You're going to write that check because you're going to be like, oh my God, there were more DSO people than I've ever seen in my life. I didn't even get to talk to everybody. I didn't even set up all the meetings I wanted to set up. It was insane how many people are there. Like I got a complaint one year, Mike. I mean, I didn't take it seriously. I take complaints seriously, but I didn't take this one seriously. It was too crowded in front of my booth. I was like, I have never I got that. I was like, you gotta be, I was like, dude, then maybe you shouldn't come next. If you're really bothered by it being too crowded in front of your booth, this might not be the event for you. But those are the complaints. I like seeing that one. I was like, all right, we did our job there. So that's what I feel for the vendors. For the DSOs, I feel like if you're going, I've got to expose you to really good content, not infomercials, not paid things that show up. And I've got to expose you to people that I think can add value to your organization. Our event is private. Okay. I mean, it's quasi public in that, people don't see it. Like if you're a normal DSO person or a normal vendor, you could come year after year. Like we're not going to have a problem, but there's a lot of selectivity that goes on behind the scenes that people don't know about that I can do because it's a public event. It's not private. Like if I see somebody that's had repeated complaints, from my clients, let's say there's some company that does something in the industry and I've seen it and I just don't feel like, they're a good option. They're probably not going to be allowed to sponsor. They're not going to be allowed to have a table because I just don't want DSOs, exposed to that. If I feel like there's not enough DSO people there, this hasn't been a problem lately, but if I look at it, I'll comp people. I'll just say, even if I got to donate, some registrations, 5 or 10 grand worth, I'll start calling people up and say, hey, and the good news is the event's gotten so big. As soon as they say Brian from Dykema, they do. Like 10 years ago, I had to beg people to like return call. Now they're like, oh, what can we do for you? And I'm like, hey, I noticed there's not anybody, at your organization coming, or you only got a couple people. Can I, if I comp you, can I twist your arm? And all of a sudden they're like, I know, but the hotel's sold out. And I'm like, no, I actually have a couple rooms we hold back for situation, and I'm able to do things like that to really get it to where the last couple years we've had at least one representative from what I believe to be the 250 largest DSOs. Like we know who the top, say, 50 are. After that, it gets a little more subjective. But what I believe the top 250 DSOs to be, we've had at least one person from every one of those organizations, plus hundreds of other organizations. I mean, you don't got to be in the top 250 to come. It's just I like to do it that way so I can brag about it. But anybody with a group practice DSO, we love for you to come, and I'll do that. And I do a lot of, comping and free registrations and pulling strings so that I feel like now I've got the ratio up. So any vendor walking around, they're going to have, I think last year it was almost 1,000. I mean, 1,000 DSO people. I mean, you're lucky if you get an event that has 1,000 people ever. And the ones that do, when you really drill down, they might have 300 DSO. They're like, we got 1,000, but it's like 350 DSO people. Ours is like 1,000 plus DSO people, and then other partners and other people that are really important. And what I like seeing is business to business. I mean, a lot of people come and they're almost like, hey, we're coming because, we're XYZ, technology company, and we want to buy ABC technology company, and we're coming to do that. Like, we want to talk to some DSOs too, but mainly we want to talk to other technology companies and buy them. So there's all sorts of layers of, this business buying that business. Everybody, of course, wants to do business with the DSOs. A lot of the DSO people are looking for technology solutions and they want to come. So it's all these things behind the scenes, but just know, the average person might be like, hey, I register, I go every year. It's like every other event. Well, it's not. I do a lot of screening and selectivity and things behind the scenes to make sure I fill it up and make sure I fill it up with quality value added people, not just anybody that shows up.
Yeah, the partnerships is a great call out as a technology vendor. I mean, we do a lot of things with Pearl and Patient Prism and others that, where we have a lot of mutual customers, and there's an opportunity to talk about, deeper integrations and different things that we can do to kind of shape the technology landscape moving forward. And it's a great opportunity where you have all of these really innovative technology vendors in one place, a lot of conversation between the vendors too.
No, and there was one we were talking of, and I don't know what, how many names we mention or don't on your show or what the rules are, but there was one today
No
and I
rules.
were talking about where we looked at it, where they were announcing a strategic, acquisition, and, they were going to have a little breakfast and all this at the event. And that really, I commented on that on LinkedIn. That warmed my heart to see these type of business to business transactions going on.
Yeah, that's great. Let's talk about content for a second. I think conferences get a bad rep where a lot of individuals feel like there's repeats of the content. You're seeing kind of the same things from the same people. Now, look, nobody's ever going to complain with a Pat Bauer, a Bob Fontana, a Steve Built on stage. Like, you see these folks over and over, Steve Thorne over and over again, and they always have new value to add, and they are kind of pillars of the industry. But when you get into kind of the overall content calendar, how do you think about making sure that you're providing fresh value? And when you think about all of the different sessions that are taking place at Dykema this year, what are some of the things that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, look, I do the stage, okay? I please don't anybody, this thing's gotten so big. Like 12 years ago, we had 41 people. Yeah, I was like calling the hotel for meals, and so I was doing everything. But now, please don't ask me, and no one does, by the way, but don't ask me what we're eating, what color the tables are going to be. Obviously, Laura Blaine, my wonderful, wonderful event manager, I mean, she actually knows all this stuff, but don't ask me that. No, but nobody will ask me that. And there's probably 1,000 tasks, maybe more. I'd love to see. I asked them one time what our checklist looks like. I think it's well in excess of 1,000 like things they got to check off, to do it. Most of it is delegated, and I really am detached, and I have to be because it's so big, and I don't know that stuff. But what I will never delegate is what happens on the stage. and I start that. It's been more than a year because remember last year, just the way the calendar fell, we were like July 10th through the 13th. This year, we're August. So it's been almost 13 months that we've been planning it this year, more than a year this year. But I start that planning even now. I've booked a couple speakers for 26 that I just think will be a better fit for 26. A couple of them couldn't make it this year, but have a great message. So I've already started booking some for 26, but I handle everything on the stage. And my rules of the stage is it's got to be value added. You can't buy your way onto the stage. I mean, like it is true that some people that are on the stage also sponsored. I mean, that's true, but it's got to be value added. You can't just write the check and you get on the stage. And there's been some big organizations that have written me the check and proposed things. And I've had to tell them over the years, like, hey, thank you for sponsoring, but this is not going to work. Now I'll give you a chance to let's go find somebody else. And usually we're able within a big organization to find something that I think works and will be value added. But it happens all the time that I'll reject it. I'll say, hey, this is what we got in mind. Nope. Not going to do that, and I just, I have been in the industry 30 years. I tend to have a pulse on what I think, from my over 700 dental organizations that I represent, what I feel like people will think is important, what they'll need to hear based on the conditions. And yeah, I mean, you make a point. There are some things that are timeless, like no matter what happens, lending and accounting. It's just, they're going to be there at the breakouts. I don't even know that they change their presentation, but everybody needs accountants and everybody needs money for credit facilities. So they don't got to do it. They can show up every year and be boring, but everybody needs it. But when we talk to the leaders in the industry, the market conditions have changed. So how like my friend Steve Bilt is reacting to something going on now versus how he was right after COVID versus how he's going to be next year is always fascinating. I mean, that's why some of these guys, I think their message, they change their message from year to year based on what's happening. But just the mere fact of having them never gets old because they're the leaders. They set the tone for the industry. And when things are going on, interest rates have gone up, or back in the day, we were just coming out of the great lockdown and we're opening things up again. I mean, people want to hear how they're reacting to certain things. So that's why I think, like you point out, some of the pillars of the industry, they never get old, they're not coming. I guess if they were coming with the same presentation every year, people would get sick of it, but it's not. It's a presentation that's tailored to the existing, market conditions. And that's why I'm so excited about the Planet DDS report. And you'll remember this, right? Planet DDS came out with this report like in February. It was awesome for actually publishing statistics for the DSO industry, which I found was tremendous. But what I said to Planet DDS, just an example, is I said, I'm excited to have you guys present it at Dykema, but you got to update it. You're certainly not showing up with the same thing you released at February and go and tell everybody about that. And Planet DDS was terrific. They were like, absolutely, we're coming with an updated report. And that's what we try to do to differentiate our event from the others. We don't come with, hey, I gave this speech last year, I'm coming back, for the old speech. It's got to be updated. So when you see, the big organization CEOs, they all have an updated message based on the conditions, that are going on over the summer for our event. If you've got somebody, a trusted partner like Planet DDS that issued their report, it's going to be latest, greatest, updated, and just about everything else. I mean, there's, our same-store growth panel, that Amal Nergurdkar is leading. It's updated. It's going to be right through the summertime, the statistics, so that even if you felt like, hey, I've heard this speaker a couple times, what you're going to get is going to be updated right through the summer. And certainly the presentations I do at Dykema are unique only to that event. I know I speak everywhere in a lot of places, but you will not see anything I've done previously, for my presentations at Dykema. And we try to challenge everybody that gets on our stage. Now, last year, we did what I called the most powerful 3 hours in the history of the DSO industry. It was a lot of 15 and 30-minute segments, and everybody said, wow, that was just perfect. I challenged the speakers because a lot of them are like, I can't do it in 15 minutes. I said, you can't. You can, and you're going to have to. Love you, but you're going to have to do it. And, a little pushback, a couple tense moments, and they agreed to do it. And the feedback was, we want more of that 15-minute stuff. We got so much value. Nobody got bored. You challenged the speakers. They had to be concise to the point. We want more of that. So this year, it's the most powerful 3 hours in the history of the DSO industry, part 2. And we got 15-minute segments and a couple 30 minutes, but mostly 15-minute segments in there on new topics topics that were not covered last year, things that I wanted to get in last year, but there's only so many hours at the event. Now I've got it here, from Disney to dentistry. Who doesn't want to hear that? Like, we're going to learn lessons in customer service and experience from Disney and how we can apply those things in dentistry to make the patients feel great about coming there. We just got some really cool stuff that we've never covered before. Joint ventures, ambulatory surgery center, partnerships, again, same store growth. I mean, just lessons in leadership this year at 3 new CEOs. Larry Benz, the new CEO of Dental Care Alliance, is here with some brand new, perspectives he's going to share. Bob Fontana, from Aspen, Stan Bergman, who just recently announced, he's going to retire. I mean, this might be his, I don't know this to be, I guess he's here till the end of the year. I'm sure he'll have other events, but this might be his last Dykema as, CEO of Henry Schein, and we're going to make that super special for him. So just a lot of things going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so you talk about controlling the stage, and right now as we're speaking, I see over your shoulder picture of a Dykema stage with the pyrotechnics and the explosions. You've kind of created, it's a thing now, and it's the intro for Dykema. What type of pressure is it to try to, well, for those that are listening that maybe haven't been to Dykema, each year there's a little, a vignette, a video, a big kind of intro that I think I don't know if it was last year or the year before, it was kind of a play off of the Hangover movie, and they are always really informative, well produced, well done. And so now it's like everyone's waiting to see, Brian, like what the kickoff is going to look like.
Got in trouble, and I don't care. Okay, in trouble with the CFO of my organization because they looked and they were like, "You spent this on a 40-second, the 5-minute walkout," and I was like, well, can we move to the next? Let's go to the next page. Let's not focus on that. But yes, it is. People want to see the walkout. And the problem is when you walk out, like some of this stuff behind me, like I felt like 2 years ago was pretty epic. Like it was kind of. And last year I thought was pretty good. It's just the only way to top it is it's got to be a bigger and better production. And that's why the CFO was kind of like, did you really, like, I like the event, but did you really have to spend that much money on 5 minutes? And I tried to explain to him the point that you just made very well. I probably halfway got through. I mean, we're doing it. Look, it's done. The checks have been written, but I feel like I only halfway explained, to him that no, I mean, people expect a lot out of us in that first, walkout sequence, and this is what we're gonna do. But yeah, we got the videos, like you said. We hire our own production company. They're coming again, and they're original to this year, and the whole walkout sequence is gonna be original. And I'll just tell you, please be there at 9. If you've this is like you were saying, if you've never been there before. If you've never been there before, don't stroll down there a half hour late. Please be there at 9. So at least when I tell my CFO we spent all this money on the first 5 minutes, it was worth it. So please, when the curtain drops around, pretty sharp at 9 a.m., please be there. I don't miss that.
Listen, and if you want good seats, get there a little earlier, because I'll tell you what, it fills up now, and folks
You'll
are
be standing in the
getting
back, but that's
place.
okay. It won't be like
Yes.
that for every session, but if you walk in at the beginning and you're like, "Oh man, I got to stand here." Yeah, stand there. It's that cool, at least for the opening event. It's pretty good. Like I think, like I said, we'll have 2,400 people. The ballroom can hold 17, 1,800, and it works pretty well. Other than the opening session where it literally is standing room only because everybody wants to see the big walkout and pyrotechnics and things like that. Some people got calls, they got things they have to do, so that it's packed all day, but it's not necessarily like standing room only every session. But if you walk in there for the opening one, it's worth it to stand for that. Don't be discouraged. You'll be able to sit later, but just for that opening half hour, if it means you got to stand or sit on the floor or something, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would be another piece of advice I would give is look through the agenda. I mean, I know people have their businesses to continue to run. There's a lot of C-suite executives that come to this event, spend a lot of time, sitting in and absorbing the content. But, look, business happens. They've got calls and different things to make, but you can really schedule around some of the things that you want to make sure are particularly of note or interest for you and your organization at this given time. And different organizations are in different places. There's different topics that may resonate more with what they need to grow their business. So my tip would be study the agenda, know what's happening when, make sure you don't miss the real critical pieces for you. And then, if you have to, you're going to be meeting with people and doing other things, and that takes place as well. But there's just so much to do at all times.
Yeah, I mean, look, you need a credit facility. Every major lender in the space will be there. They have a workshop. They're also around. Maybe you want to target that. You need some accounting advice. Maybe you want to target that. You need a new PMS system. It's all there for you. You want to explore AI. You're a little behind on the AI curve and you're like, look, I heard this AI thing's exploded, but I really don't have it too much. This is the time. Every possible AI solution that's value added. Because I feel like when it comes to AI, Mike, they're coming out of the woodwork. Some of it is like shiny things, not value added, but everything that I think is value added or potentially, it's not going to work for every organization, but has the potential to add value to an organization is there. And you could say, gosh, I went from knowing nothing about AI to I met with all 8 vendors of the 8 different divisions of AI. And now I know everything. Now, when I left this meeting, I know everything about AI that's available. I may have to schedule follow-up meetings to drill down, but at least I went from nothing to knowing every AI solution that's out there. Something like that is very positive. I went from knowing nothing about PMS systems to all the options that are potentially available for my organization. I knew nothing about membership and discount plans. Now I know everything. I knew nothing about patient finance plans. Now I know all the options, that are available. I knew nothing about, I heard about Curadont and it could regenerate enamel and that was cool, but I just never really knew where to start. Now I know everything, about that. And, the examples go on and on. I could sit here, I struggled with revenue cycle management, RCM as we call it. Now I know there are solutions to help me with that. And the list just goes on and on and on of things that you may know something about it and want to learn, and then they're all there. Or you may know absolutely nothing about it, but you want to do a crash course, and all that's possible in the 3 days. And everybody wants to help. That's the rules, Mike. You know this of being involved. There's no, like arrogance or standoffishness. Everybody that's there is there to either, learn or to help somebody learn or to support somebody, in some way. That's, I think, what I'm most proud of is the culture of the event. I know it's just an event, not an organization, but the culture of that event for that 3 days, everybody's approachable, everybody will answer questions, and everybody's patient. They're here to sort of help.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about it. And one of my favorite things about dental also is the kind of willingness to help. And at this level, with this many individuals that are all running their businesses and so many sponsors, everyone, to your point, really is just kind of seeking out the opportunities to help each other. I'll tell you, at some point, everyone is so friendly, it's almost overwhelming at times because you head on a swivel. I'm like, wow, the amount of conversations I'm having, tracking them, making sure I'm taking my notes and making sure that I follow up with individuals can be overwhelming, but that's a good problem to have.
I was really touched. Our friend Sarah Ruberg did a little thing where for people like your first time Dykema, she actually did like a little, like, would you call it a web view webcast or something where people could get on webinar. People could get on the webinar and like actually ask questions. And then, Eileen from the dental, the DVIN, the Dental Vendor Innovation Alliance. I always, all these acronyms that go through my head, but DVIN, she did it. She had me speak it. And I looked into the eyes of a lot of these folks that, a lot of them are in their, I wish I was still in their 20s, early 30s, and they're new to the industry. And they literally like, we heard it's overwhelming. Can you just help us? How do we like show up? Where do we go? What do we do? And I was so grateful for Sarah to do that. And I was so grateful for Eileen to sort of do that with DVIN. And I was happy to appear on at least Eileen's segment to just help these folks. Cause I mean, look, this is my 12th year. These things are easy to me, but people really were worried and they wanted to ask these questions. So it was, very easy for me to answer the questions, but it's not often that super, super easy answers for me to give, off the top of my head really were helping people because they were overwhelmed and they just didn't know where to begin, where to go, how to approach the thing. And I was able, anytime, Mike, in our industry, if you can do that, if it's like just super easy answers off the top of your head, but they're really helping people, it's always a blessing to be able to do that.
Now, was this a brainchild of Sarah's? Did she come up with the concept of
She did. I
That's
I
awesome.
read about
That's
it on
very cool.
LinkedIn like everybody else. She just said it was something like, I don't remember what she called it, but it was like your first Dykema or something like that. And I talked to her after. It was filled up. I mean, she had a ton of people that dialed in. And I know when I did Eileen's thing at DVIN, it was filled. I mean, they had it on Zoom. It was like going over the whole page. I mean, there was at least, about 100 people on the DVIN call, and they asked questions. I mean, she left time at the end, and a lot of the questions, were very basic, easy for me to answer. But these folks, they needed the guidance and didn't know, because it was their first event, what to do. And I was super, super happy to be able to just very easily answer those questions, put everybody at ease, so they felt a little more less overwhelmed, attending their first event.
Yeah, that's very cool. In addition to the kind of the culture being one of helping each other out and dental having so many great people, there's apparently also some hidden talents that folks in dental have, or maybe not so hidden anymore. And they're gonna find out. So, is this the first year that we've had we've got DJ Lane, you talked about the doing business from, I guess 11 to 2 AM, and then also we've got Mr. Ray Caruso and his band out there.
So Ray's a friend. So this is we'll start with Ray, right? So Ray said, "Hey, I got this band about a girl. I want to play at this." And Ray's a dear friend, and I've worked with him on a number of things. And I've joked with Ray about this since then. I was like, "Oh man," I was like, what, he's a buddy. I feel like I have to do this, but what if his band isn't good? Like, because I don't compromise the quality of this. I was like, this is not the type of event where you do a favor for a friend and they stink. I'm like, I can't have that. When Ray asked me, and Ray, I think he knows how seriously I take this, and he said, "No, no, we've played Coors Field, we've played some big events in Denver. We're not some just backyard band or something." But the most reassuring thing he said to me, because Ray's just such a stand-up guy, is he said, "You can watch us play at the DSO networking event in February in Dallas, and look, if you hate us or something, like, look, we'll talk about it more, but come watch us." And it was in Dallas, and I was speaking at that event anyway. And I went out and they were terrific. I mean, I have to say, whatever, little nervousness I had, of like helping out a friend, the band was absolutely terrific. They're definitely of the caliber that can be on the Dykema stage. So that suspense, like, I'm going to pick on Lane in a second here, but on Ray, that suspense has been sort of, there's no suspense anymore. His band is damn good. And I'm so happy that they're going to be, at Dykema. They're called About a Girl. They're going to open up. Then the Spasmatics are going to go one set, then Drones, then the second set from the Spasmatics. So I think the rock band, Ray does have talent, him and his band, and really excited about that. Now, moving on to Lane. Now, my buddy Lane, uh, Terrio, the CEO of Independence, he was a big time DJ in Canada. A lot of people, the secret's out now. I mean, for a while, he was like, Brian, don't tell people that. Well, now that he's DJing our event, the secret's out on that. But he was a big time DJ in Canada. And, he's shown me videos like on his phone of him out there with massive crowds in Canada, putting on shows and stuff. And we've asked him, for a while, and he's always been like, I'm kind of running a DSO now. It just, not gonna do it. I mean, like, probably 3 years running, we asked him and said, "Would you be willing to do this?" And then finally, believe it or not, at the Planet DDS event I went to with you guys, in the fall, Lane and I had a few drinks. He might tell the story he got drunk or something. I think he was okay, but he'll say he wasn't in his right mind. He was fine. He was in his right mind. We had a few drinks, and he said, "All right, heck, if you ask me, I'll do this." And I got him, and now, I told him, "Hey, we're taking this really seriously." And he's now totally excited about it. We got elevated platforms. We got LED. We got holographs. We got smoke machines. We got this is not like, come to a dental event and there's a little DJ booth and we're going to play some 80s music and, you're just going to sit there. This is like world-class sound system, world-class special effects like you would see in Vegas. If you went to a big club in Vegas or Miami, what you would see there is kind of what we've replicated here. And I understand some people are going to just go to sleep. And I get it. It's like when I grew up in the 80s, if it's too loud, you're too old. They used to say, yeah, some people are going to be going to sleep. All right, I got it. But with 2,400 people there's going to be, 600 plus people that are going to, maybe more, that are going to be rocking out at this thing. I've committed. I'll be there certainly because Lane's got a heck of a walkout. Just like my walkout on the big stage, he's got a heck of a walkout. I'm going to be there for a solid, definitely 90 minutes type, situation. Whether I make it till 2, I don't know. I'm leaving it open-minded. I mean, this thing is going to rock. I'm not ruling out that I won't just suck it up and say there's no sleep coming. I mean, I do got to interview John McEnroe the next day. He's one of my hero, my idols as a kid. So I kind of want to be reasonably, with my wits about me the next day. But I'm not ruling anything out, but I'll be there, first 90 minutes for sure. I know a lot of people will be there the entire time because Lane is going to be absolutely terrific at this thing.
And that's on site also, correct?
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, we're not gonna do this like buses and go in places.
Yeah.
It's about 300 feet from where there's a curfew. So, the drone show and the Spasmatics ends around 11 p.m. and they're pretty strict, in enforcing that kind of curfew about lighting things up in the sky and having, rock bands playing and stuff. That's got to knock off at 11 because of the houses around it. But right, at 11, there's going to be people show. It's the same room that the woman in DSO event's going to be in. So if anybody that's that woman in DSO, just go back to the same room. But if you don't know, we're going to have a lot of people with big streamers like pointing you to where it is. It's a 3-minute walk, so it ain't going to be hard for anybody to get over there. And same thing, most people, the hotel sold out. I get it. Some people are not, but most people that were able to get the hotel, whenever you've kind of had enough, you just get the elevator and go back to your room. We try to do that for everybody so nobody's got to waste time going between locations. It's something I love about our event that many other events, Mike, it's like, oh, time for the bus, got to go to dinner, got to get on the bus, got to go to the, we have our own band playing over here, but it's a 20-minute ride, got to go over here. We don't do that. Everything's on facility.
So last question, then we'll wrap on this episode. So look, there's the big party that's going on, and you just mentioned it. John McEnroe is going to close out the event. So give some folks that were like maybe thinking, hey, I'm going to go to this, I'm going to stay up late. Maybe I just don't show up for Friday. Why is that the wrong decision?
Just go. Like, what I mean is, I appreciate it if you want to stay up all night. I am not going to tell you on this show not to stay up all night, but you got to be a big boy or a big girl, whatever the case may be, and just show up the next morning. I mean, if that means that at 5 a.m., maybe you just go take a shower. We're going to hand out hangover kits. I mean, this is why, I wouldn't like recommend this, but as I can't like a good conscience, but look, if you're in this situation, do I just sleep and blow the thing off? No, this is what you do. You take the hangover kit, you pour the powder in, you mix it up, you drink that thing, you get some caffeine. We got some energy drinks that'll be in the hangover kit. You drink that, jump it. I mean, this is like for 5 or 6 in the morning, like worst case, you're coming back. You drink this thing, you jump in the shower, and you go to the thing. You only got to make it to 1:30. Then look, if you want to sleep on the plane or sleep back at your, a lot of people are staying till Saturday. You're coming rafting with us, Mike. I'm so excited. We got a few more slots for rafting if people want to do that. But, a lot of people are hanging out. But I rest assured, I promise you, you can take an afternoon nap if you want. So, look, if you go to bed early, then we don't got to worry about this speech anymore. But if you're, at the party a little bit and you leave at midnight or 1, probably don't got to worry about it. But if you're like, this is the funnest event I've ever been at in my dental event I've ever been at in my life, and a lot of people will say this, and I'm just going till 4 or 5 in the morning, then do it. But use the hangover kit, use the caffeine, and please be there the next morning because you don't want to miss it. There's some really good stuff. We got an international panel. We got buy side. We've got sell side. Steve Thorne is a keynote speaker that's coming right before. And then we got John McEnroe. I mean, I wouldn't want to sleep through that generally. I know some events front load it where all the good stuff's on day 1 and you can basically sleep through day 2. We don't do that. I mean, there's not a bad thing going on our stage, and it all ends up with John McEnroe, and he's going to sign stuff at the end and be there. So, I mean, I just, you don't want to sleep through it. I don't think.
No, I don't think so. And then after the event, I think I'm playing some golf. I got matched up. I got Paul Kaiser in my foursome, so he's just going to embarrass me because I think that guy's supposed to be really good at golf. But it should be a good time. So there's just kind of nonstop things to do.
That has grown. Look, we got like 100 people golfing. Like, I remember this was like some of my partners and I don't. Anybody want to see me when it's over? Come to the Pool Cabana. I've got 2 cool pool cabanas all week. If you're still on site and you're not golfing and you want to come say hi, come to the pool. Just tell me how we did. Tell me if you like the event, whatever, come by, because I'm just spent. I can't do it. But my partners started this, with like, say, 15, 20 people that went to this, and it's grown like fivefold in like 2 years. Now they got 100 people golfing. I mean, really, Mike, if they're inviting you, I mean, we're really now at this point going down to it used to be sort of elite. Now we're like, we got to really be drilling down, like down to, like the B side or the C side of the record or whatever. But, it's grown fivefold. I mean, it's like 100 people there now.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Hey, Brian, thank you so much for joining. Very much looking forward to Dykema, to seeing you out there. No doubt that it's going to be just a fantastic event and the best one ever.
Well, thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing everybody. And hey, come over and say hi. Sometimes people say, look, you're running the event. You don't got time. I mean, it is true. I'm really busy. Like, I can't sit there for a half hour. But if you haven't met me, come say hi. Come introduce yourself. I love meeting new people. If you're a first timer, come over. Tell me it's your first time, and I'll definitely, say hi to you. And at another event, we'll have a drink or something down the line if I can't do it at this one. But definitely come over and say hi. So many people tell me later, like, I wanted to say hi, but you look busy. Come over and say hi.
Yeah, you'll be the guy wearing the nice sport coat.
Yeah, we got some custom outfits this year, but come over and say hi anyway.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you for joining, Brian.
All right, Mike. Thank you so much.
The Dental Economist Show is brought to you by Planet DDS. To find out more about how cloud-based dental software by Planet DDS helps unleash dentists and their staff to focus on patient care, visit www.planetdds.com. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes by following wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.